for beauty in particular, seaweed has really natural um, bioactive properties, which I'm sure we can go into a little bit as the conversation develops, but it's kind of a perfect fit.
I love it. And that's the biggest thing too, right? Is we're seeing all of these things and everything has a carbon footprint and we are taking so much away from our land, which we've seen is having a bad action or reaction to for our planet. If you're ready to create a salon business that thrives, but also aligns with your values of clean, holistic, and sustainable practices, then you're in the right place. Whether you're just getting started on your journey or you're already running a successful salon but crave more impact and clarity, this podcast is for you. I'm going to dive deep into mindset, systems, and strategies that help salon owners like you grow and scale your business while staying true to your purpose. Every week, we are going to have real conversations about the challenges, the successes of running a holistic salon. And I'll give you my insider tips. So if you're ready to transform your salon into a powerhouse of purpose, profit, and peace, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Salon Owners No, wrong podcast. This morning. It's 100% a Monday morning. Okay,
That's right.
where are
In
we at?
December too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This whole thing this morning kind of threw me for a loop. What is the name of the podcast?
Is this Clean Beauty Biz or
No,
Green
it is Impactful Salon Owner.
Impactful Salon Owner?
Yes,
This is why you record it. You can edit it. We're not live. We're not even
exactly.
live to tape. Or I guess you're live.
Exactly. And if I were live, whatever.
Yeah.
Because no, I had to change like the first season, my podcast was a different name and it was just very long to remember. So I changed it to a even more simple one that I totally remember now. Okay. Take 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Impactful Salon Owners Podcast. I'm your hostess, Jacqueline Rodriguez, and today I have James Dillard. He is the Chief Business Officer and co-founder of Macrooceans, which seeks to catalyze a low-carbon seaweed industry. Welcome, James. Thank you so much
Jacqueline,
for being here.
thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we met through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I was following and loving what your business is talking about. And then we got a chance to have a really great conversation. And it was just really eye-opening to me, the importance of the sustainability in seaweed and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about your mission and how you're creating this low carbon industry.
Yeah. Well, so for me and for my co-founder Matthew, I think this all really sort of started as a mystery. So in it's 2020, and we're getting into seaweed and reading about all of the amazing chemical complexity, how fast it grows, how it's sort of the perfect regenerative crop because it is um, providing habitat for wildlife rather than taking it away. And it just has all these benefits. It's not using arable land. And we're trying to square that with the fact that at least in North America, there's very little seaweed used in actual things. We're saying, okay, like what is the missing piece here? Um, and we kept kind of like trying to find a good reason that it was impossible for seaweed to be used in more things. And we never really, as we did a little bit of research and did a little bit more research, we never hit a reason that it was impossible. And that's kind of where the business has grown out of. And I guess the reason that we're so excited about seaweed or kelp in particular is that it grows super quickly. As it grows, when kelp is farmed, it's farmed in the ocean, so it's not taking land away from natural habitat for people for whatever else we want to use it for. Um, and then it's beneficial for the water. It acts as a cleaner or a detoxer for the water that is around it. Um, and then it's not, when you're talking about terrestrial agriculture, you're usually talking about applying fertilizers and applying pesticides, and all of those things have a carbon footprint associated with them. And seaweed, it's salt water and sunlight, and let's go. I mean, there's buoys and stuff, but there's a lot less just stuff that goes into it. And so um, we feel like that's kind of the perfect regenerative crop for the 21st century, and we should be using it in more stuff and hoping to kind of carry the flag on getting that into things. And then, Mhm,
And with the seaweed, it's actually giving back
mhm.
to the wildlife in the water, and we've got to detox. So the kelp helps detox all of the chemicals that are also being put into the water. Am I right in that?
Yeah, well, so there's two things I think that farmed kelp does that are worth being aware of. The first is that when you think about terrestrial agriculture, um, typically what you do is you rip out whatever was growing there before, and then you plant whatever you're going to plant. And kelp is not that way. So we get all of our kelp at this point from Alaska. Um, the state of Alaska permits seaweed farmers for a certain amount of space. They have to use kelp species that are native to their region, and they put those out on lines. So there's a buoy with some rope in between it. They put the sporites on to the rope, and the seaweed grows down into the water. So anything that's already growing there is untouched by that process. And I believe that NOAA, I think I have this right, but NOAA has found that in some cases it actually acts as habitat for wildlife species while it's growing. And then the second benefit that it provides is anti-acidification. So you've read about ocean acidification caused by rising temperatures, and
Mm.
I'm blanking on the source here, but there's some research to suggest that the seawater around the kelp is less acidic than it would otherwise be, in part because the kelp is taking the carbon out of the ocean water and using it to grow the plant
Amazing, amazing.
or the algae.
Now, well, with that, because our audience here are salon owners, hairstylists, and tell me, why is this so important for us? And how do we start to like really look at either using more of the product, or I know you were talking about with your company that we can even look at creating our own products. So I'd
Totally.
love to hear more about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's start with you're a salon owner. You're probably thinking a lot about um, scalp health with some of your clients. You're probably also thinking potentially about skin health in some cases. Maybe you have a spa that goes along with your salon. And kelp provides some really complex sugars that aren't found in other natural sources that have great bioactive properties for skin and scalp care. Um, we also have some people that are using these polysaccharides for hair care as well, but the research there is just less developed. And so we try to stick a little bit more closely to the clinical research when we can. Um,
Yeah.
but okay, so why is kelp good for skin? Um, Kelp grows in seawater, and it produces two sugars, fucoidin and laminarin, that it uses to protect itself from external stressors. Okay, if you're kelp, what are the external stressors that you face? First of all, you really do not want to dry out because if you dry out, you die. Second, you are getting sunlight sort of year round, um, and there's nothing to protect you from it. So you're protecting yourself from UV rays. And then the third is that when you have abrasions or um, issues, you want something to stimulate healing properties. And so this is the role that fucoid and laminarin play on the kelp, and we see similar applications on the skin. So they love water, they love grabbing water and locking it in. They are super absorbent, and they also are, yeah, they absorb the water, they lock it in against your skin, and so they're really naturally hydrating. Um, There's a lot of academic research that talks about their ability to help with anti-UV inflammation. So and once again here, this is the academic research. They're protecting, if you apply it before UV exposure, skin is less likely to become inflamed. After UV exposure, that inflammation goes away more quickly.
Okay.
And then it stimulates the skin's own healing properties so that after, cuts or redness or abrasions or just, other environmental stressors, it bounces back more quickly.
Those are all very important things. And what we all look at when we're looking for our products, right?
Yep.
Though we're looking for hydration, we're looking for our skin to bounce back. And I know me personally, anything where it can help protect from UV exposure or help, ease the inflammation,
Mhm.
that is really important to me. So looking at those different properties and bringing that on. And that would bring me to the next thing is like, we're all talking about, and I teach a lot in my academy on like clean beauty and the
Mhm.
sustainable beauty. So it's not just a growing trend, like it truly is the thing that everyone's starting to look at.
Mhm.
Why should salon owners start to maybe like incorporate or think about considering the products made with seaweed to, bring them into their offerings? And especially when we're talking about scalp, I'd love to hear about this more about the scalp,
Yeah.
because we have a head spa, and I know a lot of our listeners also have been looking at or considering head spas.
Yeah. So let's talk about why kelp ingredients are helpful for the scalp, and then we can talk about the sustainability side. We're
Perfect.
bringing that in. Um, Fundamentally, scalp skin is also skin. And so when you do things that are healthy for your scalp, you're going to improve the hair that's on that scalp.
Yeah.
And so that's where we see in the academic research, that's a place where we see a lot of the benefit. And then when our customers are using it, they're telling us the same thing. So by reducing scalp inflammation, by increasing the hydration, by helping that skin be healthier, they're seeing, thicker, healthier, stronger hair on the heads that they're trying it out on. And so that's kind of the connection there. And then I think, if you're a salon owner and if you're in sustainability, I mean, I think one of the things that I've seen just in working in sustainable products is that um, people want to buy things that both are sustainable and they work. And so I think one of the things that we've tried really hard to do at Macrooceans is to invest in the efficacy alongside the sustainability. So we've done our own, third-party clinical trials to prove efficacy. We have that data available, and we're, happy to share it with anyone in your audience. Um, and I think that same sort of mentality, whether or not it's with our product or our ingredient, I would say if you're a salon owner or a business owner that's trying to be more sustainable, one of my close friends likes to say that no one has a sustainability budget. When they're going throughout their day, they're not like, oh yeah, and I'm going to spend $200 on sustainability. Instead, they're looking for opportunities to include sustainability in things that they're already buying. And I think that's where, as a salon owner, if you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, I know that my customers are interested in scalp health, or I know that like post-procedural inflammation is a problem that they have. We're trying to set you up to be the hero in your customer's eyes by giving them something that actually works, that solves their problem, and as a benefit has a story that they can believe in. And we see those things as complementary, not they have to come together, right? You can't you don't want to have a super sustainable ingredient that doesn't work because then it's not useful for anything. And you have plenty of options if you don't care about where things come from. We're trying to not force you to make that trade-off.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things that I teach in the academy is really looking at all of the aspects. Because, like you said, nobody really has the extra time or money for sustainability. And we know that it takes both, right?
Mhm.
That research and then the money just to put forward to have products that align with your values. But the
Mhm.
beautiful thing that I see nowadays is there's so many options out there that are coming out.
Mhm.
And for my audience, that's why I love having companies like yours on here, is because this is what we're doing. We're breaking down that barrier between the company and what's being provided, and
Yeah.
seeing that transparency. Because
Mhm.
when I'm teaching to my students, it's really looking at the entire business,
Mhm.
not just one ingredient, not just what they say on the labels, but we're
Mhm.
looking at everything. And that's, I loved your entire mission. And that's why I was excited to have you on. But also being able to see that when you bring these types of ingredients on, you hit the nail on the head. It has to work, or
Mhm.
else we just can't. And I know when I started sustainability and clean beauty, over a decade, like 14 years ago, 13,
Mhm.
something like that, there weren't a whole lot of products that actually worked. And
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest pushbacks we get even now, where people are having a hard time finding products that are working
Mhm.
just as well as our traditional products.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a huge issue, and I think that's one of the places where when we think about our product roadmap, are um, really starting with the question of what are people using today, and why is this better from a efficacy or from a functionality standpoint
Mm-hmm.
first, and um, sustainability is a part of that conversation, but it's not the whole thing. And
Yeah.
in my experience, and potentially this is the same for um, the business owners that you're working with, but I see the real benefit from sustainability when it comes to your business. I mean, obviously there's a moral aspect to it, but I think you actually see it in the numbers when it comes to customer retention, because
Yeah.
you want to people want to have products and services and businesses that they believe in. And so they're going to hire you for the job that you're doing, and then they're going to stay with you because they like who you are. And so that's kind of where you want to be. And so for us, we try to treat it as a discipline. It's not something that you're finished at. It's how do you do the most that you can right now, and then what does it look like to do better in the next iteration? Um, and yeah, that really resonates with me. And when we're sitting down and we're looking at our product, the first thing that we say is, what are we being hired to do, and why should someone choose us versus alternatives in the marketplace?
Yes. And you said it. My next question was going to be, you've said sustainability is a discipline, not a destination.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that quote, because it really is. You're never, oh, I'm fully sustainable. Like, this
Mhm.
is something that we continue to grow and evolve, and it just becomes a part of our ethos.
Mhm.
And that's where our bigger change in the world is going to be, when there's the traditional products and services are now all sustainable,
Mhm.
or at least mostly that way, right? That's where we're going to see the biggest change in the world.
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with that. I mean, I think you're never done getting better, right? You're never
Yeah.
nothing. And I think that is the exciting part. And I think all of our best moments as a company have been ones where we um, set out a plan to do the best we can right now, and then accept that it's going to have limitations, and then to be honest about those limitations, and
Mm-hmm.
then come back the next time around, and try and do better. Um, a great example for that for us, and where our business is right now, is doing a life cycle analysis is something that we really want to do for our ingredient. It's also really expensive. It's also very complicated to do when you are getting your first manufacturing facility up and running. You don't literally don't know the answers to some of the questions when you haven't, gotten to a
Yeah.
certain scale. Um, and so, understanding that, look, in 2024, it wasn't going to be, we wouldn't have gotten good information out of it because we didn't have good inputs to put into it. Heading into 2025, um, I think we'll be able to do the first version. I expect that the first version will be pretty gnarly because we're not at scale yet. And so I mean, my hope or my plan is to include our customers in that because I actually think that's pretty intuitive. When you sit with people and you say, look, like, we're not using, we're at a pretty low scale right now. Because we're at a pretty low scale, like, we have to do some things, transportation costs. We're not able to use the most efficient transportation methods because we're not using that much kelp, right? And then as we get bigger, here's our plan. I think that people are there for that. The people that are going to spend the time with you. Um, and I think that model of iteration um, ultimately is is the best path, as long as you're bringing people along for the journey.
I agree because we always talk about progress over perfection.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, if we wait for everything to be perfect and we have all the numbers and everything laid out, we'll be waiting forever. Because,
Right.
like you said, you have to learn.
Yeah.
And over the last decade of having my own salon and being focused on clean and sustainability,
Mhm.
I have failed many times and
Right.
things that I thought had gone great, we had to pivot, we had to change and bring in other things. But the beautiful thing about the beauty industry is that nothing is set in stone.
Mhm.
As soon as you're done with something, or even before, if you have to, you get to choose another route, another product, another way of creating offerings for your clients. And I always tell my students, bring your clients on the journey with you
Mhm.
because especially after COVID, we've seen consumers are extremely knowledgeable now
Mhm.
and they are conscious consumers and they want to see businesses doing something better, something bigger than just business. And when you take them on that journey with you, you don't have to be perfect.
Mhm.
You just have to be authentic and transparent and say that, like, we're starting on this, may not be perfect right now, but this is where we're going.
Mhm.
And that is a huge piece that everyone, whether you are building that product out or whether you're bringing someone into your salon, we all have to deal with those types of like ebbs and flows.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I love the ether. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted to uh continue this conversation with you is I think it's one of my favorite parts about where we are right now is that we are working with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that are particularly people that are either starting or extending their own beauty line. And um, I find that conversation that you just mentioned to be super natural with them because anyone who has started something from a blank piece of paper or who has to operate something day to day understands in their bones that there's the perfect and then there's what you can do today and that what you can do today is almost always better than not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's just really fun. I find it to be really inspirational to kind of see all of the different ways that people out there are taking, businesses that they started themselves in their own garage or wherever, and then trying to use them to make the world a better place. I mean, like, anyway, it's definitely a perk.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. I absolutely love, and I am very inspired by how much people care,
Yeah,
right? Because we're filled in this world of negativity and crap's going wrong all the time.
right.
But there is a piece of this world and of people who do really care and who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into businesses that are truly just wanting to be better,
Yeah.
wanting to do better, and learning step by step. And I feel like your business is definitely one of those. And the people listening, like every single business, you have the chance to be able to be a part of that, right?
Mhm.
It's just taking that little bit of a mindset shift
Mhm.
and looking at day to day what we can do to change things and
Mhm.
being really clear on what we want because we don't know what we want unless, I mean, we can't go anywhere if we don't know where we're going or what we want out of that.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
So tell me a little bit more about the products you were talking about, your product in building out an actual line. So if
Mhm.
anybody listening is thinking about building out their own skin line or hairline or whatever, what does that process look like?
Yeah, totally. Well, so most people, um, I'm sure you have some amazing people out there that also do their own cosmetic formulation, but most of the people that you are going to work with are probably going to partner with somebody to do that.
Hmm.
Um, we have so we have an ingredient called Big Kelp Hydration. This is a little sample bottle. We're happy to send one to you or to the cosmetic chemist you're working with. If you are serious about getting started but don't have a cosmetic chemist, we have a couple that we like that work with early stage companies that will recommend like sort of whether or not you work with us. They're the people that I would go to if I were starting a line. And then they will help you put together some sample products. We have a couple that we send out with our samples that sort of show you the diversity of different product types that you can use our ingredient in that can maybe inspire you a little bit. Um, but yeah, look, if you're a salon owner and you have an idea for an ingredient or a line, you want to have something for your customers to, purchase on their way out the door, you're going to start to want to think about, okay, like what are the different things that I want in that line? Who's going to formulate that for me? Who's going to manufacture that for me? And there's a whole ecosystem of businesses in there that will do that for you. And then you can sell the product under your brand. And then in other cases, we have some brands that we're working with today. And if you have a specific, maybe you don't want to go through the process of having your own brand, but you want to have things that you're able to sell more in a retail environment, happy to recommend some of the folks that we've worked with there as well that I think do a good job and have products that are worth checking out that are using kelp ingredients that you can use to tell that story.
Yeah, for sure. Because I do like everyone listening, I'm sure everyone's on their own path, whether they have the time, money, or energy to create their own or looking for a way to carry that in the salon. I think that that would be amazing to have all that information and maybe we can throw it in the show notes or should they just reach out to you, whichever's
We'll do
easier.
both. We'll put some stuff in the show notes and then I
Okay.
can put my contact info in there. And we can do that. But the other thing that I guess that I'll just say along with that, because I talk with a lot of beauty brands today and a lot with formulators. I think salon owners um, should be aware that they have a direct relationship with the people that are making these purchasing decisions, and that is every single beauty brand owner I know is sort of like stressed about how to reach um, their consumer and is
Yeah.
looking for more ways to have a more intimate conversation with them. And so I just would put that out there. I think because of the nature of the business, you have that relationship, you have that trust. You obviously have to use it in ways that are responsible or you won't keep it for long. Um, but that's really valuable and people should think of that as it probably does not seem as big of an asset to them because they're not on the other side, where I'm talking to these folks that have like a website and they sell their stuff maybe they're in a Sephora, maybe a Credo, and they're like, how do I actually reach these people, right? And it's hard. It's not so easy, but you should be able to take um you should be able to ask the people that you're working with, what are your three favorite products? What do you not like about them? Um, and pretty quickly get to something interesting from those conversations.
Oh, for sure. I honestly, the entire reason I have this podcast, the entire reason I built out the Holistic Salon Academy is specifically because I believe that as salon owners, we have a huge responsibility because we do have that client relationship, right? And as salon owners, we may have a team with us. So what we teach our team also trickles down to our clients.
Right.
And our clients come to us because they believe in us, they trust us, and why I think it's so important for us to like be very very clear on what sustainability, what clean ingredients are, and
Mhm.
start to make those changes in a very dominant traditional beauty industry because it's not, I won't say it's the easiest, right?
Mhm.
Because there's so many brands out there that just are in our face and we
Hmm.
don't know what we don't know yet. But the
Right.
entire reason this brand, this podcast was built was specifically because of that, because I believe that we have a responsibility and we can make a real change. So if you just, well, follow me, follow the things like, and that's why I created the Academy, is so that they don't have to go do it themselves. They can
Sure.
actually follow all the research that I've done over the last decade and start to make their own changes. But it is very important because we have that relationship with our clients and they really do listen and care. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you see that as well.
Yeah, no, it's one of the great things about the beauty industry is that there is a consumer on the other end of it that is looking for a way to be more responsible, and they just don't have good options. And I think anyone who is helping them along that path, um, they see the benefit in that. And I think a salon owner is ideally positioned to have that conversation. You actually have the time to talk about it a little bit. There's an opportunity for
Yeah.
people to try things and touch things. It's really unique, and people should use it in cool ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And we really do like have a platform where clients will come back specifically because of that. You build out this relationship. And the more that you learn things like this and you bring it to your client, they keep coming back
Hmm.
and over again. And they tell everybody because it's still not the norm,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Everybody else is talking about the traditional stuff. So,
Right.
with that, what trends do you see shaping the future of sustainable beauty?
Oh, this is a great question. So I think one that I have touched on a little bit is a I think that the conversation about efficacy and clean beauty are like pretty tightly tied, or going to increasingly be pretty tightly tied. I think there are some consumers out there who feel like they have gotten a little bit burned by clean or green ingredients, or products, and so there is I guess that's one is like absolutely nailing on like product functionality is super super important in the next stage. um I think seeing more of a push towards um like carbon accounting, I think is going to enter our worlds at some point. Not totally sure the form that's going to take, because I think most people, myself included, when you throw a carbon number at me, I'm like, okay, is that big or small? It's like when you quote a price in a foreign currency, I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this right now. But I do think that eventually that will find its way in. Um,
Yeah.
to the conversation. And another one that we are hearing a lot about is traceability, is being able to get back to the source um, of the ingredient, and like not general traceability like Italy, but like specific traceability, like who, what, when, and where all along the supply chain. Um, because I think consumers are using that as a proxy for responsibility. Um, they're like, if you know that, then you must be doing the other things, right? Um,
Yeah.
and you may not necessarily agree with that, but I do think it makes sense. The kind of the calculation that's happening in their head is, if you understand that, share it with me, then you must be credible. I think we all do a version of that in our lives.
For sure. Well, because we don't have the time. There's very few consumers or business owners out there trying to do all the detailed work.
Right.
Because it can be overwhelming. There can be a lot. So we do get that sensibility that if you're looking at these things and can be transparent about them, then you probably are doing others, which I think can work. And like you said, we've been burned, myself included. Like I've
Right.
been burned plenty of times from companies who I thought were doing much better. And then, but I think that we just all have to kind of give ourselves some credit that if we're trying and we're looking at things, it's all, I mean, we're constantly, refilling these things. So it's okay if you don't get it perfect, just try again and look a little bit deeper in the next one, I think is the best way I've been able to handle that.
Totally. I mean, I when I think about the companies that I've lost respect for, generally there's a situation, it's it's when they are trying to hide something that they get themselves into trouble, and where we really try to do our best is to say, okay, like what can, I mean, you probably heard this in other parts of the conversation where I'm trying to make a distinction between like what we've done and where we're relying on third parties, right?
Yeah.
Um, because that's important to me. It's important to me that when people that are working with us understand that when we are making a claim about our product that has been tested with our product, and when we are relying on the research that others have done, and I think both are valid, right? Like, but you don't want to lead somebody to believe one when it's actually the other, because if you do that, they will hold it, and they feel misled, they will hold that against you. Whereas if you bring them along for each step, and then somebody says, well, hey, that's actually from a third party study, they'll be like, yeah, I get it. Well, not everybody can do everything, right? There's just a little bit more grace. And it's really tempting as a business owner to want to think that you have to tell um, the biggest possible story rather than just the most authentic possible version of your story. So
I
I'm
couldn't
sure we
agree
have
more.
that in common with you, and then also with most of your audience as well. I mean, like, you want to be able to tell everybody that everything's going to be great, and they're all going to get a chocolate chip cookie, and but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, yeah, we wish we could say that, and we have to be just realistic about it, right? All of this is starting up. We're all trying to do our best. When we come to this world of clean and sustainability, we really are trying
Mhm.
and just being transparent. So for everyone listening, that includes you, right? You're going down this journey, you're learning. Take this information back to your employees, to your stylists, to your clients, and have these conversations, because that's where you're going to learn. That's how you're going to bring people along your journey. And I know when I first started, it was really scary because I wanted it to be perfect. I didn't want to mess up.
Mhm.
Um, but when I was just honest with them about, I'm researching this, like I will let you know how it goes, and then I'll bring you along, they were on board and they were invested. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden they would ask me the next time, and then what else do you know? And what else can we do? So that's really like why I wanted to bring you on is, having this open conversation, looking
Sure.
at what amazing companies are out there doing for the beauty industry so that we can have better ingredients, better products to give to our clients. So I want to keep talking because there's so many more questions, but we are wrapping up time. And just any final words you would say for salon owners out there listening, or stylists?
Oh man. Um, I'm totally drawing a blank. I don't
That's
know that I think I gave my best piece of advice around this, which was just to be iterative, or to set a goal, try to hit it, come back and set another one. That's where what I would take with you. I'm happy to reach out and chat with anyone who's thinking about starting their own beauty line, like whether or not we're the right fit for what you want to do. Um, I Before this job was outside of the beauty industry, and so I've had to learn it along the way. And uh, sort of like you, Jacqueline, I think it's a great joy for me to be able to speed other people through that process, because I came into it all like, wait, what is that? Who does what? And made my own mistakes along the way, and would be happy to share with other folks along that journey.
that's amazing. And thank you for that. So tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah. So my email is james@macrooceans.com. You can drop me a note. I'm pretty responsive. Our Instagram is @macrooceans. We post a lot there. We're on LinkedIn too. Um, but yeah, come find us.
Fantastic. And as always, we will have everything in the show notes. So make sure you go over to the show notes, take a look, follow James and his company. I am just so appreciative of you being here. Thank you for everything you're doing, not just learning more, but putting out this product and coming on and, sharing that knowledge with us.
Let's do it again soon.
I will. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Impactful Salon Owners Podcast. I hope today's episode gave you valuable insight and inspiration to take your salon to the next level. Before you go, I wanted to remind you that the Holistic Salon Academy is opening up soon. So if you're ready to dive deeper into clean, holistic, and sustainable salon practices and build a truly impactful business, be sure to join the waitlist. By signing up, you'll be the first to access all of the details and exclusive content before anyone else. You definitely don't want to miss out. And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this one, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps to grow the show and reach more salon owners just like you. And lastly, come hang out with me on Instagram at Clean Beauty Biz Coach, where I'm a real life person who loves to connect with you. I'm always in my DMs answering your questions and would love to chat more over there. Thanks again for being here, and remember, every step forward is a step towards lasting change. Until next time.